Hello everyone and welcome to Cryptomania Live Show. I'm Ayub, your host and senior crypto and stock analyst at Elliott Wave Forecast. Today is the 25th of July 2025 and Bitcoin is riding the highs while altcoins are still facing short-term correction. So what's the next move and how high can ETH, Litecoin and the rest of alts soar in the next few weeks? Hit that like button if you are hyped for the alt season. Let's learn together. Don't forget to drop your question in the chat now. So let's start our live webinar with a quick review of our current Bitcoin weekly forecast. We've been following this count for now basically 2 months. As you can see, Bitcoin is tracking our projected count, targeting a wave 5 to the upside. We are looking for this cycle in November from 2022 to continue within a 5-wave advance. This is our basically main count to the upside. We are expecting the continuation higher to remain in progress. We've been explaining in previous live seminar why we are expecting Bitcoin to reach 135, 149. We are not going to go into the technical aspect of the short-term sequence here, but we'll be explaining the bullish cycles based on the targets with a different overview this time. So if you are new here, of course, you can be looking later on at the previous webinar that we did. We went into full details about these sequences. Our main focus for today will be about the 4-year cycle and why we are going with the idea that there is a potential peak in the third quarter of this year. So as you can see here, we are marking October 2025 as a potential end of the cycle. That doesn't mean, of course, we are going to peak the top for Bitcoin, or we are not going to look for a major peak with the current data. It's all a process. Our main target around 135, 149 is going to be expected to be seen in the coming 2 months, and from there we're gonna take it step by step. So looking at the weekly chart, you can see Bitcoin has been following the 4-year cycle. Of course, if you are new to the crypto market or specifically in Bitcoin, Bitcoin been following a 4-year cycle, mainly 1 year of a correction followed by 3 years of a rally, marking a 4-year cycle. Not going to go into full detail about the reason for this based on the money flow or the Bitcoin halving, but the idea is that, as you can see here, for example, if we go back to 2017, this was the peak. Bitcoin December 2017, 1 year decline until November 2018. From there, 3 years rally until November 2021. From there, another 1 year decline until November 2022, and we are basically now seeing a potential 3 years rally. We're gonna mark the 3 years rally on October 2025. So that's going to be for us the first main timeline that we are basing this forecast. So if we are going to use this 4-year cycle, we need to understand that the 3-year cycle already showing, technically speaking, another 3 cycle inside of it. This is going to be our main focus for today. So if we switch to the cycles starting from November here, we are going to understand how this will develop later on. So the cycle from November 2022 peaked around March 2024. This is the first main cycle. After a correction, it started another cycle similar to this one. So the projected move from November 2022 using a connector from August 2024 already gave us the first target that we've been mentioning earlier this year, around 107. So we can say that cycle from November 2022 hit the target. This is really important to understand because this was the first initial move. Now, since August 2024, we had the same. The rally reached the target around 107, and we saw another pullback to correct the entire rally from that August 2024. So we got another secondary rally that started from April 2025, and this is going to be the major low that we are going to follow the rest of altcoins based on that, because this April 2025 is going to be playing an important role for the rest of the cycles. So this secondary cycle is currently still in progress, and we are still not yet reaching the target, which is technically speaking a projection from 2024 give us a target around 134. So first cycle reached the target, secondary cycle is still in progress. Now if we move to the third cycle, which is from April 2025, we can notice also this is showing still an incomplete sequence. Also looking for a target higher toward 135 based on the rally toward May peak using the recent June connector. We see that we are still missing in the red cycle here from April. We are still missing another target around 135. So basically here we have the first cycle reached the 100%, and since it already broke above that target, then we go for the secondary target, which is ideally around the golden ratio or the 1618 Fibonacci extension, which is coming around 143. So we can see here we have a combination of 3 cycles giving us a target around this area. So this is going to be a higher probability scenario at this stage, because if we are expecting these 3 cycles to combine and to a final major peak in the coming 2 months, then at least the secondary 2 cycle from August and from April 2025 needs to reach their perspective target. So all this points toward a potential, at least a macro peak around October or end of September, before the market will decide later on, because we've been presenting, of course, different counts before. We are still going with the main idea that this rally from April is showing only 3 swings and 2 new all-time highs. This is based on our sequence and our system. This is still an incomplete bullish sequence. So technically speaking, as long as Bitcoin is still holding above 98K, we should be seeing that extension toward 135, 149 to be seen in the coming 2 months. So that's going to be really important to follow, because based on that, if we go back, based on this sequence, we need to understand the sequence from April. We need to understand that all the major alts that have a similar path will be following the exact same movement. Now, if we shift to the short-term internal cycle for Bitcoin, which is going to be the recent pullback from July. We presented this idea since last week, since our recent live webinar. This was the potential still buying opportunity if price decides to make another move to the downside. We've been explaining that there is a potential correction against June, and since this is already showing a bullish sequence after breaking above May peak, then this should present a good buying opportunity. After short-term sideways price action, which happened during the week, it's finally creating a low sequence from the 14th of July, and technically speaking, Bitcoin still have more room in the short term to be able to reach 113k 500, 108 800 area. So if Bitcoin manages to reach this area, which is also a combination with the 50% of the rally from the June low around 110, so probably by the weekend or next week we could be expecting Bitcoin to create a higher low against the June and start the next rally that we are projecting here to take us toward 135 during August and September. So this is basically what the major idea is for Bitcoin, but we need to understand that only if Bitcoin holds the June low, the rally toward 135 will continue. if Bitcoin start breaking below June lows, ideally if we are breaking below the 100k, I mean technically speaking that's obvious, then most likely this is going to shift into a larger degree correction. So it's a step-by-step process. For now Bitcoin is bullish and should be holding above that 98k, so therefore we should be expecting the continuation to the upside to take place. So if you got any question about the Bitcoin targets, do let me know. Feel free to ask before we dive into the calculation of the altcoins, which is our main focus for today's live. I'll be just reading quickly the comments here. Hello Jane, hello Jim. No, I'm not French guy. So wave 1 and wave 3 can touch each other. See the bigger wave. If you are referring to this count, wave 3 and wave 1, there is no overlap. The lows from April didn't overlap with the peak that we saw in March. So technically speaking, there is no overlap. And most importantly, in this count, the wave 1 and with the wave 3, the projection, for the wave 3 is already higher than the projection of wave 1, which means we can see already the equal X area, it's around 107. Price already got past that. So technically speaking, wave 3 is longer than wave 1, which is all you need at this stage for the confirmation of a 5-wave advance. And most importantly, we don't have the overlap. And even if we had the overlap, this could have been maybe an ending diagonal for the entire cycle, which is not the case for now. So technically speaking, this is just a regular impulse. Keep in mind, Bitcoin, if it decides to extend higher, which is one of the scenarios that we've been explaining before, to go toward the 190 to 100k, that's on the table, it needs to accelerate and erase the divergence, which we don't have at this stage, because if we take a look in the short term, there is big divergence taking place. So most likely we are in the process of finishing the wave 5. So I hope that answered your question about, or your comment about the wave overlap. So let me read a couple of questions. If you are referring to any altcoin or any other stock, we're gonna take a look at the end of the session with the Q&A later on. We have time. We can be taking a look at Coinbase later on for sure. Sui will be covering Sui in a few with the rest of alts. These are the main alts. We are not going to cover gold, but yeah, if I have enough time, I'll take a look at that for sure. Yeah, we're going to see also ETH. Okay, so this is a really important question specifically for Bitcoin as our main focus, how to identify the correction has ended. Now, there is plenty of way to identify that, but let's suppose you have, this is a perfect example, the previous leg, because this was a good corrective structure. So as you can see here, this was a 3 waves, this was a 3 swings to the downside or 3 waves corrective structure. So the best way to identify if the correction has ended or not, there is the safest way and the more aggressive approach. Now the more aggressive approach is the moment you see the corrective structure reaching the extreme area, which is presented in this case as a blue box, which is our main system that you use to define the reaction area. We expect the market to either resume the rally in this main trend, which is in this case higher, or the market could give you 3-wave bounce, then fail again. So at this stage, the moment you see the first initial reaction, you don't have the edge to define it, but we use different type of indicator to confirm that, for example, in our system, if the pivots around this peak gives up, which is our own proprietary system that we use, then we know most likely that the entire cycle has ended, specifically if this pivot gives up from the previous peak without the price breaking above the peak. That's something we use, but if you are just trader using typical price action, the safest way is to wait, for example, in this case, a channel to break out, or if you are using the short-term trading from the previous cycle, maybe you are using this channel. If this channel, in this case, break to the upside and you see a retest, specifically you are seeing an impulsive advance from the lows, then most likely that the correction has ended. However, if you are seeing a corrective only 3-wave bounce and the market start to correct again, that's a weak indication that there is a chance of breaking to the downside. So it's a combination between the structure. You need to see an impulsive rally of the lows to confirm that most likely the correction has ended, and you need to see some sort of structure breakout, in this case channel breaking up to the upside, or a trend line breaking to the upside. You need to combine, so it's up to you to combine those. For example, if we take a look at the current view for Bitcoin, it's not a bearish count, or I'm answering a question, do you have an alternative bearish count for this? We can look for an alternative way that Bitcoin could go even lower before resuming the rally. So this is the first 3 swing. The correction usually works in 3, 7 or 11 swings. So this is the first three swings taking place. Bitcoin could either resume the rally from here, or Bitcoin could decide to make a double correction, making it a 7 swing structure, which means this is 1, 2, 3, could do a 4, 5, 6, and 7. This structure is called a WXY. We don't go for the WXY unless there is a main reason for that. For now, the more aggressive approach is ending 3 waves and rallying to new highs. If the rally fails after a corrective 3 swings, so in this case the bounce will be just a short-term 3 waves, not a 5-wave rally or not a 5-wave impulsive structure, then there is a chance that Bitcoin will fail below the peak, do a double correction lower, then you find another buying opportunity here. But it's always a step by step. You take the first 3 as a buying opportunity. If the market fails, you look for the 7. It's exactly what happened here, basically. It was the first 3. However, the market was showing a strong 5-wave advance rally, so it was denying the double correction. But there was still a chance. If we go in the cycle, up until here, this was only 3 waves. So there was a chance of making this move to the downside. However, the market denied it and made a 5-wave advance. If I zoom in to show you what I mean by the 5-wave advance, if you look at the structure here in the short term, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5 waves. So the market gave you a 5-wave advance. So that's an early indication that there is a higher probability of continuation. Wave 4 never trace more than 50% of a wave 3. So if we take a look at here, it really depends. It's not basically a hard rule, but most of the time the wave 4 retraces. If I take a look, let's go back to another example. Even it's not the best example, but yeah, let's take a look at this. So most of the time, wave 4 pullback retraces 23-38% of the previous cycle. So you can see in this case, wave 4 reached the 38%, then started the rally. Because usually wave 4 is not the deepest in pullback. However, we do have some cycle that this type of pullback do happen, which is in this case reaching the 50% and the bounce take place. But keep in mind, in this case in particular, there was no overlap. So sometimes the correction are tricky. I mean, the hardest part of any cycle or any trend is the correction, because no one on this planet will know before the market takes the correction what type of pullback you will get. There is plenty of correction. The market could be doing 3 swings, 7 swings, could be doing a sideways triangle, could be doing even a flats. So there is plenty of correction that could trick traders in the short term. So that's why it's never advised to lock your bias into a correction, because the market can always surprise you. Another example was last year. Let me just delete the labels, then I'll show again. So last year, for example, the market did the first 3. See here, did a perfect 3. Let's zoom in a little bit. So let me show. The market did you the first 3 waves. Now you had two choices: rally into new highs from here, or the market makes a double. And that's exactly what happened. And you can see the first one reached the equal legs. You see here this reaction. That was the first buying blue box. This was kind of a perfect entry. However, the market denies it. And what it managed to do again, another equal legs. So another buying opportunity. So it gave you basically two buying opportunity. If you bought this, you got the first reaction. The market failed and another extreme area was hit. Doesn't mean it's going to be working perfectly every time. Sometimes the market won't give you a perfect entry. It could go all the way toward the 618 area before resuming higher. Sometimes it doesn't manage to reach even the 100%. It's not perfect, but at least it gives you 80% of the time. If it manages to reach the extreme area, it will give you a good buying opportunity. So I hope that's clear. I think that's for Bitcoin. We need to switch to the altcoins. That is going to be the main focus for the rest of the session. Keep in mind, if you are really interested in our Elliott Wave count, specifically the main counts for the rest of cryptos, you can always take a look at our Elliott Wave forecast at elliottwave-forecast.com. You can grab the 14-day trial for 99 cents. We cover different cryptocurrency: Bitcoin, ETH, XRP, Solana, BNB, Dogecoin. You can there get the full Elliott Wave forecast count, because this is slightly different from the one that we are presenting during our live session here. This is only for educational purpose only, to present and explain the idea of the Elliott Wave and the bull cycle in Bitcoin. But we do have different counts from this presented to the members that we have on the website. Now, if we switch to the Altcoin Index, which I will show in a second. A recommended stop loss based on our system usually is below. Let me just reload this chart just to give you, which is really important. I'm glad you asked about it, because majority of the time you don't get someone that asks about the stop loss, which is one of the really critical things that you should have before you open even a position. You should have your stop loss and your take profit before you enter the market. So in this case, technically speaking, if you are short-term trader, your stop loss is below the 618 area. So basically somewhere around 108, 800. But if you are trading the daily cycle and looking for the 135, technically speaking, you have a larger invalidation level, which is below 98, because that's the bullish cycle that the market is trading against, which we showed here based on this cycle from April. That's the main cycle. And the secondary cycle is, June 2025, not April. So the 98 is the hard stop loss that you should be using for the next move to the upside. If you are just a short-term trader, then yeah, 108, 800, you should be just putting a stop below it to look for the market to give you another buying opportunity. Now let's switch to the altcoins. That's what everyone is looking for today. Just to start with, I hope that's clear. I'll take a look at the question later on, just to keep the flow with the session. Don't worry if I missed any question. We're gonna review them by the end of the current explanation. Exactly, my friend. Exactly, my log. If it exceeds that 618 area, most likely it's going to be a larger question. You got it. So okay, so let's examine the altcoin index. As you can see, it's begun to climb to the upside. So it doesn't, I mean, technically speaking, this altcoin index, of course, I'm not going to use this as a really indicator for trading the market. It's just for explanation purpose only. We've been seeing that every time there is an altcoin season, most likely the altcoin index will be hitting higher levels above 75, sometimes reaching 80 or even 90 level, like we saw back in 2021. We still didn't reach those levels during these rally, despite the rally in 2024. We saw a lot of hype, but the altcoins didn't really outperform the way that they did in 2021. That's not going to be really important at this phase. What we note here is that we are starting to see the altcoin index trending to the upside, and most importantly, we are already trading within an altcoin month in July. What does this mean? This means that the top 50 altcoins apart from Bitcoin are already outperforming Bitcoin, which is reflected on this rally. I mean, we saw massive rallies in the recent 2 weeks before the recent pullback. We saw a lot of coins. I mean, even ETH did a 60% move. XRP already new all-time highs. A lot of altcoins did 2 or 3x's, but Bitcoin only did a 20% move to the upside, which is reflected on this altcoin index. However, we are still not seeing the full thrust to the upside. Ideally, you should be hitting higher level to mark the altcoins, and therefore you should be expecting the rest of altcoin to continue being supported against the recent June low, which we'll be explaining in a moment from now. So if you have any question, keep that in mind for the rest of the session. Let's go back to the charts that we are going to explain. Give me a second here just to get you the charts. So let's start with ETH. I mean, in the last week live show, we already delved into the ETH and XRP full Elliott Wave analysis. You can review the webinar later on. We went into the full detail of the Elliott Wave count and the targets. Keep in mind, we also cover them in our members area if you want to get the full Elliott Wave count. Now, we need to understand that ETH, technically speaking, still didn't make new all-time highs and still don't have a bullish sequence even in the weekly. But our focus is on the cycles that Bitcoin been following. So I explained that this is November 2022. That's basically the main cycle that started from 2022. And our main focus is April and June. Now, why April? Because the majority of alts, similar to ETH, had a major low this year in April. They are not following the exact same cycle as Bitcoin, because Bitcoin never took August 2024, but ETH did. So the cycle from April is going to give us the same projection. Now, if we take a look at the secondary cycle from June, we see that ETH already reached the equal X area around 3,600, which is the main reason why ETH is doing the pullback with the rest of alts. We expected this area to provide a short-term pullback, which is taking place, but the main focus is the projection of this entire rally taking place from April. This is, technically speaking, giving us the next target for ETH toward 4,500 all the way toward 5,000. So technically speaking, following the same cycle as Bitcoin, if Bitcoin is going to continue higher toward 135, 150 area, ETH should ideally reach the same target or the same equivalent target in the coming few months. We are still, of course, talking about October 2025. This should be also reflected for the rest of the market, because, as you know, majority of the time ETH is going to be the leader of this move. We've been seeing ETH lagging for a while, and finally ETH is waking up, marking the beginning of this current alt season. That's why we are expecting this to provide us with the current path until ETH reaches 4,500, ideally 5,000. The rest of altcoins should remain supported. I'm not going to talk about the short-term technical target. We are keeping this just for the weeklies. Now, if we take a look at XRP, because XRP has a unique timeline, because this one has begun this move from March 2022, completely different from Bitcoin, because it never made new all-time highs in 2021. This is the 2022 low, but this is the entire cycle that XRP is following. It's already showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves into new all-time highs. So technically speaking, XRP is mature in terms of swings and sequences, but it's still missing our target from April. The projected target from April, which we explained also in our live session last week, is looking still for 3.8, 4.5. We are seeing a pullback taking place. Again, this is only 3 swings into new highs. This is, technically speaking, again, another incomplete sequence, which means this is a wave 4 pullback, and we are still looking at least for a wave 5 to reach 3.8, 4.5. The reason we are looking for a 5-wave advance is to finish the entire 5 waves rally from 2020. This is, let's say, the moderated bullish structure, or let's say the less bullish view for XRP, because there is other view that suggests this is a big nest, 1, 2, 1, 2, and XRP could explode toward $5 or $10 in the near future. That's another topic. You can review the live from last week. We went onto all the possibility for XRP to do that. So these are the two that we already went through before. Now let's go over some new coins that we didn't talk about in the previous live session to keep it interesting for us. Let's take a look at BNB, which is, technically speaking, one of the most bullish structure within the big 10 altcoins. If we take a look, ETH never took the previous peak. ETH without new all-time highs. XRP already new all-time highs, and BNB is also making a new all-time high. Specifically this week we finally made new all-time highs again. Now this is the same cycle from June 2022. This is similar to ETH from June 2022. Some alts are following each other. They are not following the exact same low as we can see from November 2022 for Bitcoin. So BNB is showing a slightly different cycle, but it's the same idea. This is August 2024, same as Bitcoin. And BNB, what I like about it is it's already giving you higher lows every time it's a higher low, and it was always followed by a higher high. So technically speaking, this is one of the most bullish structure that you can see in the weekly charts compared to, for example, ETH. And most importantly, it's already creating another bullish sequence from August 2024. This was missing compared to Bitcoin, and the projected cycle, which was the blue cycle, I'll put this in blue in Bitcoin, which is the equivalent of Bitcoin going toward 135, is giving you a target higher for BNB to reach 900 area all the way toward 993. We can say 1K. BNB has a chance of reaching 1K there because the 618 area is coming around 1100 area. So technically speaking, it's opening a bullish sequence within this cycle, and most importantly, you already have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So BNB already have 5 swing to the upside, but the moment it opens another higher sequence, it will suggest that until this cycle finish another 5 wave advance from August 2024, it should remain supported above these recent low from February 2025, or I mean if you are using April low in this case, because it's slightly a higher low, but it's around the $500. So as long as BNB stays above 500, it should be finishing another 5 wave advance from August. Something similar to this, or if you are going to use the Elliott Wave, I'm seeing, I mean, we can even use this. Sorry, let me just show the chart, change the into a different color. This could have been a big wave 4 sideways. Even I don't like the idea, but that's a possibility. This could have been 1, 2. This is a 3 and a sideways triangle within wave 4. And now you are seeing this rust. Either way, the cycle should give you another target around 900. So any short-term pullbacks, technically speaking, and BNB should provide a buying opportunity. Just check the question. If I have enough time later on by the end of the session, yes, I'll take a look at total 2 and 3 to give you a better perspective. I know a lot of traders use those for a perspective and give a major target, so we'll keep it for the end to get a final target for the majority of, I mean, for the market cap of the entire altcoins. Now, that's for BNB. A target to the upside around 900 should be seen in the coming 2 months until we reach October 2025. It could extend beyond that, of course. I'm just giving the minimum targets. Now, if we take a look at Solana, which we covered before, but Solana has been lagging. It already made new all-time highs, of course, earlier this year, but in the short term, it's been lagging. No new highs yet. The projection from the cycle from April, a minimum target is not yet reached, around 218. It's only 3 waves up. There is no bullish sequence in the overall structure. However, the short-term cycle from April is still calling for a target around 218. Unfortunately, we are not breaking new time highs yet, but if it managed to do it, the entire cycle from December 2022 could give a target higher for SOL towards 342 400 area. If you are seeing your favorite Twitter influencer or ex-influencer calling for 1000 or 2000 for Solana this cycle, most likely we won't be seeing those levels, unfortunately. Maybe in the next cycle there is a higher probability of a grand super cycle wave 3 taking place in the next cycle, but for now the minimum target for this move based on the timing cycle and Bitcoin is going to be 342 418. Ideally in the short term there is still a chance, if it managed to hold above 126, to reach 218 275. If it managed to break below 126, then most likely SOL during this rally or this late phase of the entire cycle could be just spending this time within a sideways range before the bigger correction taking place. So this is not one of the favorite. Compared to this to BNB, BNB is a better structure in the short term. Let's continue with the rest. Litecoin, another announcement that is still not breaking on your time highs, but we are sharing the same cycle with the rest of the market. So this is your April low, this is your June low, again similar to ETH. From there we are expecting Litecoin to do a similar projection. From June 2022 until November 2024 there is another projection for this cycle that give us a target higher around 167 200 area. Now let's talk about the current structure, because this is technically speaking an overlapping 3 swings. There is no impulse of taking place. I don't see any clear impulse. I mean, if you want to force a count, there you go. It's basically only showing a big 3 swings. So most likely what happens here, if Litecoin is going to see another leg higher, it's part of a bigger corrective correction, which could lead Litecoin and the bearish cycle to drop later on again toward the range of the low range. You don't need to focus on this pullback. Our main idea for this webinar is to give you the target for these big altcoins, because if Litecoin is going to do a 5-wave advance to follow Bitcoin, the same cycle from April should be still going higher toward 167. We need 2 notes. In the short term, it's already trading into the equal X area from June, which is exactly the same as ETH, and therefore you can see perfect hit 120, pullback taking place from there. Doesn't mean this is done. Short-term pullback could continue the rally, but you need to understand that it's only 3 waves without breaking the previous peak, so that's not the most bullish structure that you want to see. But as long as it stays above 76, most likely you're going to see continuation in the coming few weeks. I will go at the end of the session if I have enough time. Yeah, I'll show the example of XRP in the short term if you mean breaking the 618 area, but I think the target for wave 3 in the short term already reached that 618 area, which is a typical move. Now if we take a look at Cardano, one of the favorites of the majority of traders, let's say crypto community, not traders, what we have here in Cardano or ADA is showing 3 swings. This is the June 2023, slightly different from the rest because this is December 2022. You can see it was weaker during the bull market. It made the new lows. However, it's showing a larger 3 swings move to the upside. Now we already know that this reached the equal X area, so technically speaking, it achieved all it needs within the cycle. It reached the 618 area around 1.22. It slightly broke above it, so there is a chance that the cycle could give you a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swing higher. And the target for this fifth swing is based on the decline that took place from the peak until April 2025. The projected inverted fib levels for this move gives you another target around 1.5, 1.82. That doesn't mean that ADA or Cardano is going to drop from there. All it needs is just, it could open a 5-wave impulsive move and could open even further upside. But for the purpose of this live webinar, we are only looking for the minimum target within the coming 2 months. I expect by October 2025, if Cardano is going to remain supported above these June lows around 0.5, then most likely the structure have a higher probability of reaching these levels. It's not a guaranteed move, but if the market is going to extend, ADA have a chance of making this move to the upside. If it fails without breaking this peak, then of course you will be expecting the revisit of these range lows in the coming in the next year. So it's a step-by-step process, but 1.5, 1.8 is a minimum target for this cycle for now. Now let's continue with Chainlink, which been also underperforming. Same thing, June 2023. This is similar to Cardano. You see the correlation. Some instruments have the same low, different from Bitcoin. Only a few of them are managing to make new all-time highs, but the majority are sharing the same lows but underperforming. Now we know that Chainlink already also reached the target from that low from June 2022. You can see it reached the target. And from there, it's been doing the major pullback into April 2025 low. And that low is going to define us the next target for this cycle. If Litecoin decides to make a fifth wave higher, this is only 1, 2, 3, and this is, I'm not saying 4 waves, I'm talking about the swings. We have 1, 2, 3 swings. A fourth swing, we're gonna see a fifth swing higher, then most likely is going to target the inverted fib level of this correction, give us a target around $35, $43. There is no guarantee this move will happen, but if Litecoin is going to follow ETH, XRP, BNB, then most likely it will hold during the short-term pullback that we are seeing. It will hold above $10 and it will start moving to the upside in the coming few weeks. We don't have too much time in this move. We don't have too much extension in terms of time, but if we go back to the rest of the instrument, all of them have this projection. I will finish by showing the timeline, but the final instrument that we are going to see today before we go into the Q&A session is going to be SUI. This is one of the freshest coin for the cycle. I mean, it launched in May 2023. It hit the bottom in October 2023. By the way, are there any ICO participants that's still holding the initial bag? I mean, if you did manage to participate in the initial offering, I mean, I think it was a community offering because, I mean, the price was around, the community offer was around 3 cents. So, I mean, anyone who did manage to participate in this, I mean, congratulations to that. I mean, if you are still holding, I mean, hit the like button if you are still holding your SUI bag from 2020 to 2023. It's been a wild ride. It's been one of the best performing altcoins during this cycle. Despite this big correction in October, this is still showing a higher high sequence. So, okay, let me check really quickly the comments. Okay, I saw a question earlier about SUI for sure. But anyway, so for us, the main idea for SUI is that it's showing 3 swings into new all-time highs. It reached, of course, you can see here, it fully extended beyond the 618 area, which is always a good sign. You see this one area. This 3 swings here, 1, 2, 3 swings. That's the full extension of a wave 3. You break above the 618 area and you open further extension. Now, we know as long as we are holding above 1.7 and more importantly above the June low 2.2, there is a chance or higher chance for SUI to continue the rally higher. Now, the first target for SUI coming from April using the June connector or the June low, it should be reaching 4.8. And then the extension of this cycle from April give us a target around 6.4. 6.4 is the 618 area of April connecting May with the June low give us this target. So a higher probability of making new all-time highs towards 6.4. And most importantly, if this is a 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 5 wave to the upside, the inverted fib levels of the April give us also a target around 6.2, 7.6. So most likely, SUI in the coming few weeks or exactly in 2 months have a higher probability to reach 6.2 area, and this will be of course in a 5 wave advance. If it managed to create a 5 wave advance like this, something maybe like this in this forecast, then from here the market will be seeing another bigger correction entering next year. But a minimum target is 6.2. Can this extend to a $10 or beyond? Of course, that's on the table. This could be even starting another cycle similar to this, and the market could even open further upside. It's always a step-by-step process. So we take the first targets and let the market decide later on. So I think, so I'm checking the poll. Which coin do you want to talk about for the next session? To start the Q&A is going to be, everyone is leaning to Fartcoin, so we're gonna talk about Fartcoin, and maybe if we have enough time, we can check others. So let me take a look at the question really quickly here. So there was an important question about XRP. I want to go into that. So I have the chart of XRP here in the short term. Now, I'm not sure if you are referring to the 618 area, this one, or in the pullback. Now, I want to answer. This is a typical price action for XRP, or technically speaking, in the Elliott Wave extension. Now, this was the first leg. Using the connector, it gave us the first target around 2.95. And because this is a wave 3, it went full extension toward 618 area, or 1.618, which is a typical wave 3 behavior. Now we need to see if XRP is going to hold above this range. Does it need to overlap? It can definitely overlap if it's a diagonal, but in this case there is no overlap. And we can see a potential pullback in the short term. It's already within the typical wave 4 area. So if I put the 38%, that's still a typical area for the wave 4 to end. Now the question, I think, was referring to this, which is a good question. You can say that in this case, if you are using the fib level extension, XRP already exceeded the 618 area. Of course, this is what happens when you get an extended wave T. So remember, there is no guarantee that 100% these extremes will be valid and won't be invalidated. That's why you use stop loss in terms of trading. Of course, if you are just an investor or a daily swing trader, you won't be using this as a stop loss. Most likely, swing trader use the previous lows, or maybe use the 618 area of the entire rally with the stop loss. But as a short-term trader, these sometimes can extend beyond the 618 area, which is a live example here. In that case, technically speaking, me personally, when I see a correction that is still too shallow, because I want to combine most of the time the 38%. If you are trading a wave 4, you want to combine an equal X area with the 38%. So at least I want to see a retest of the 38% before entering a trading opportunity or taking a long in this case. Okay, let me just take a look really quickly at the rest of question. 1 second here. Let's keep the chart open for Bitcoin. And while I'm reading the question, because there was a lot of questions, thanks everyone for the question. Don't forget to smash that like button if you are enjoying the session. So let's see, we had a question about virtual. I'll take a look at that. Coinbase for sure. Litecoin will already take a look at that. So let's start setup. Okay, Pepe as well. With Muna, which diagonal, or sorry, which overlaps are you referring to? I'll answer that. Please just give me more details. Gold. Okay, I saw that you asked about gold. We are not, this is about crypto, but yeah, I can just take a look a quick look at gold in a few. So let's start with the first question, which was about virtual. Then I'll take a look at gold because we want to focus on the crypto market. So no problem for that. Okay, let me open these charts for me because I think I have virtual here. Oh, before we go to virtual, because the majority voted for Fartcoin, I have the chart really open. So Fartcoin, then virtual, just to enter the priority from the charts. So the focus for virtual in the short term, for Fartcoin in the short term, we need to understand that Fartcoin is showing, technically speaking, 5 swing into new all-time highs, or 5 swing into new highs, and it's not yet breaking new all-time highs. It's been lagging, but the rally that started from, in this case, in March, this is the April low, slightly different from the rest. This 5-wave advance was kind of a leading diagonal. We are going to go with the idea that this was leading diagonal, and we saw a 3-wave pullback, so an impulsive structure followed by a corrective structure. What do you expect at that stage? You should be expecting that the market should give you another impulsive rally. Now, it seems to be we ended the first leg of the impulsive rally, but the most important thing for Fartcoin at this stage, it did manage to break above May peak. So this is a short-term bullish sequence, and therefore, this short-term pullback, if you want to see Fartcoin trading into new all-time highs, it needs to hold above 80 cents. It needs to hold above this June low. This is really important. As long as this pullback doesn't invalidate or break below 0.79, most likely what is going to happen here is ending this pullback, maybe something similar to this, or straight after finishing this pullback, something similar to this. It will resume the rally and reach at least the target based on the cycle from March. The minimum target for this is around 2.2. However, this should be also opening further upside to break above the previous all-time highs. Now, it's a step by step. This could be 1, 2. If that's 1, 2, then the wave 3 will target 3.1 new all-time highs. However, if this is just an ABC, then most likely it could fail below the peak and at least only give you this move. So Fartcoin in the short term is bullish against June low, and the target to the upside is 2.2 all the way towards 3.1. I'm seeing a lot of questions about altcoins. I'll try to just answer as much as I can, but we have a limited time, but we can always try to answer as much as we can. But you can check our Twitter page. We can answer all different questions there, and you can always join or take a look at our website, because we do we do cover our cryptocurrency there, and we do provide you with daily live sessions that you can always ask about your instrument there. So keep that in mind. Take a look at elliottwave-forecast.com. So let's continue. So the question about virtual, which is one of the EI coins. It's been underperforming recently. It's been one of the leading coin, or one of the best performer coin for 2025. That's for a fact. That was one of the best performers. However, since April 2025, it's not able to really create that edge or break into new highs, because this is the May peak that we are referring, similar to Bitcoin, similar to other market, and this is the June low. So you have a main cycle. We can call this as an impulsive rally, despite not being the perfect impulse. Now the cycle has been lagging in the recent rally from June. We are seeing the majority of alts breaking above May. However, virtual has been lagging. Now there is two possible paths that could be taking place from here. Either that we are holding the June low, which means we shouldn't be breaking below 126. If that's the case, similar to Fartcoin, then most likely virtual in the coming two months will be trading higher toward 3.4, 4.8. I favor this scenario only if we hold the lows during this pullback of Bitcoin. If we hold the lows, then most likely you're going to see something similar to this taking place in the coming few months. If you break the lows, then the projection, you see this was the first 3 swings pullback, and that's what I explained it earlier in the session, the market works in 3, 7, or 11 swings. You got the first 3. I'll put it in a different color to show you here. So you got the first 3. However, the market didn't give you a clear impulsive rally to confirm that the correction has ended. It definitely ended this pullback, but it didn't manage to break new highs. That put or opened the door for a possibility of a double correction. So the first 3, this is a connector. And now there is a chance that it could manage to do another 3 lower to retest the lows of April before the rally. Will there be enough time or separation for this to happen? I don't know, because the market is almost retesting the lows. There is a chance of breaking. Your only edge for virtual is to hold 1.26 while Bitcoin is finishing this correction. If Bitcoin finishes the correction and starts rallying while virtual is holding the lows, the higher probability that virtual will be trading toward 3.4. I hope that answered the question. Now, let's move on with the rest. I'll take a look at gold really quickly, despite I'm not going to present any Elliott Wave count. Elliott Wave count for gold can be found in our website. But just to give you a perspective, if you are referring to gold is bullish basically in all time frames, but it's been trading sideways in the recent few months, since basically April peak. You can consider this, there is 2 ways, because this is still bullish. I'm not going to explain the entire wave count, but in the short term, I think there is a potential that this is doing a sideways triangle. If you want to count this as an Elliott Wave as a wave 4 triangle, that's a possibility. I think the RSI could be denying that, maybe in the short term, I'm not sure, but technically speaking, this is still sideways. What the sideways usually market give you, if you want just from technical perspective without a bias, there is 2 ways. Either you wait for the breakout above 3,400. If you see a breakout above this level, that's your confirmation. You need to have a daily close. That's your hard ceiling. As you can see, it failed in April, again in May, again in June, and now in July. 4-time rejection, but it keeps creating higher lows. So as long as it's holding these higher lows, there is a possibility of break to the upside. The detour here, so this is the most aggressive approach. It holds these lows, hold the lows, and break something similar to this. Now, so the secondary, slightly bullish or slightly bearish, not bullish, because this is the most bullish approach. You're gonna break these lows. You're gonna make a double correction from this peak in particular. You reach this buying area and then it rally from there. I'll put it in blue. This could be a potential buying opportunity. Retesting maybe the lows for May, because I can see from the peak there is already 3 swings. So this is 3 swings. Sorry. We have already 3 swings down, and this is a questionable 5 swing advance. Now the market needs to decide. Either this is 1, 2, 1, 2, and start a super strong rally from here, or you finish another 3 swings down. Not sure why this is. Okay, 3 swings down like this, around 3,200, 3,100, and from there it managed to rally. I hope that answered your question about gold, because I've been seeing already three questions about gold. So let's continue. I'm trying to cover as much as we can. We're already 1 hour past the session. We are not going to stay too much, maybe another 5 minutes. I hope you liked the session. Don't forget to like and share, subscribe to our channel for more of these live sessions. So I'll take a look at Pepe, Kaito, and let's see, there was another coin. Let's start with these 2, then I'll finish with if there is another. So if I go to this chart again, so Pepe, okay, one of the favorite meme coin of this bull run. I've been presenting this. You're welcome, my friend. I've been presenting this on the social media. You can follow me on Alionovicu on X. I've been presenting a lot of altcoin short-term forecast. So Pepe here is also following the same cycle from March, similar to Fartcoin. It's not yet breaking into new highs, which is the reason this is not yet a bullish sequence. It needs to take that May peak. And the moment it managed to break above the May peak, it opened the potential of a new all-time highs. What I mean by that, because we have already a 5-wave advance. So it needs, first of all, step by step, it needs to hold above June low. That's the first step for Pepe. If it managed to hold above, let's call it 83, I'm not going to talk about all the zeros, so 83, as long as it holds above 83, maybe 3 waves pullback during next week, then it should be starting another leg higher toward 194, 220, and from there market will decide if this is just a larger ABC without breaking new all-time highs, or this is going to be a strong wave 3. It should be breaking above the 226, and most likely in that case, if this is a strong wave 3, then I'll give you the idea. 1 second. If this is your wave 1 and this is your 2, then wave 3, 4, and 5. Wave 3 most likely, like I showed earlier in XRP, most likely will reach the 618 area, a pullback, and wave 5 into new all-time highs. What's the target? If we break into new all-time highs, let's use just the inverted target here really quickly. So it should be aiming for 338, 426. So there is still potential, but only if it managed to hold above 83, which is the June low. That's your hard line, or the key for Pepe in the short term. Let's really continue. You are welcome. It's a pleasure for me to answer these questions. I'm trying to keep up. There is a lot of them. Now let's see, for example, I think there was a question about Kaito, which has been one of the leading instruments earlier this year, but it's been short-term lagging. You can see that's something you don't want to see for a bullish instrument to fail and start entering this sideways price action. Now, the rally from April is the same as the rest of the market. 5-wave advance. Technically speaking, this is bullish sector. This was the first rally, which, I mean, we can't really rely on it. It's the start of the trading for the coin, but the most important structure, this is 5 waves. Now, if this is really a 5 waves, then it needs to hold above 0.67. I really don't like that this bounce was weak. It's approaching the June low. If there is a break below June low, that opens the potential of a full retest of April, or even a break above below April. This is going to be critical for Kaito. It needs to hold this level. It needs to hold 67 and a second degree, but most importantly in the short term, this is 1.2. That's going to be retested soon. If it managed to break it, there is 2 potential paths. Retest the lows and finally manage to break out, or something similar to this. It will be creating, because you can see this was a a lower high, and there is a potential if it managed to break April low, then the next bounce would be another lower high. So I wouldn't be trusting the coin if it managed to break April low. That's not going to be bullish anymore. So it needs to hold the lows from April to have another chance of breaking towards $3 or $4 to the upside. Okay, let me continue reading the question. Neo ASD, I think this is one of the old coin. It's been a while since I didn't see someone mention that, for sure. Okay, let's take a look at that, and we finish with the Trump coin. That should be it. Sonic, I don't think there is anything to be said about Sonic. If it's just the new chart, then it's not going to help us for analyzing. Okay, there was a question about Bonk. Yeah, I just showed Bonk. Okay, I have Bonk here, which is one of the leading meme coins at the current cycle. It's been one of the best rallies for 2024, the meme cycle for Solana. And in the short term, I like the structure of Bonk because it's already reaching the 618 area. It's really good. I mean, it hit the 50% of the decline, the 618 area. We can check them out. And now, the moment it reaches the 618 area, it's opening the possibility that this is a wave 3. This is the same cycle from April. We reached the minimum target. You can see it's already a clean impulsive move to the upside. Now the market will decide if this is just an ABC, which I doubt this is the case, or we are starting a really strong impulsive move. If this is the case, then the pullback most likely will hold above the previous peak without an overlap. Then you will be starting seeing a strong impulsive rally. If I switch to the short term, this could present maybe a short-term trading opportunity similar to Bitcoin. Yeah, that's definitely a good potential. Let's see if this is combining the 38%, 50% area. You can see the first, okay, let me delete this. So yeah, if you have a good combination between the 38% and the equal X area, that's usually a good area for reaction. Doesn't matter what happened from here. Most likely next week, if it managed to trade lower and to 29 all the way to 22, then most likely there will be a huge bounce coming from here. Either it's going to rally into new highs from here, or the bounce will do a double and then rally again. But it should be holding above June and continue the rally. Bonk is one of the strongest in the short term. Okay, I did forget. Okay, it was Neo. I just saw the question. We'll finish with Neo and Fartcoin. That should be for the session. But if you have any, you are referring to this one, right? The one from 2017, if I believe. This is one of the old coins, right? I do remember it because I used to hold some of them during the 2017 altcoin super rally. Of course, that's a long time ago. Remember, this is, if you are referring to this coin in particular, this is bearish. You can see it's creating lower highs. The cycle didn't even try to make even a good bounce. It's been making lower lows, another low here, another low here. So best case scenario, it managed to do a bounce, and then, I mean, this coin is basically dead. So I don't want to really talk about too much about it to not give you any false hopes. But this is going to be, if there is any news to support it, but without any news, it should be staying within this range for a while, for the coming few years for sure. We already covered SOL earlier. We are talking about the targets for SOL, Solana, not soil, SOL and Solana. Okay, so this is Trump coin. Of course, you are missing the entire rally from the start because this is on Binance the moment it ended. But if you use the Solana chart, that's completely different. I believe you are looking for the short term. So this should be the cycle from April, similar to the rest of the market. Keep in mind, everything is correlated. You won't be seeing Bitcoin rallying. Of course, Bitcoin is slowing down, but it's sharing the same cycle with the rest of the market. You see, this is the April cycle. I go back to the chart of Bitcoin. That's why I started with these main cycles. That's your cycle of April. Now you should be looking for the cycle of June. So I go back to Trump, where is the June low? There you go. This is your June low. It's all correlated. So for now, as long as it holds above 8.3, 7.14, that's the line on the sand for Trump coin. And the projection for this, based on this current cycle from April, the equivalent of Bitcoin going to 135 should be another rally for this one to reach $17. I know Trump follower should be loving the 17 number, but $17 to $23. That's for the short term. I'm not sure if it's going to rally into new all-time highs. I'm not going to forecast anything about it, but only based on the cycles from April, that's at least the minimum target for now. Okay, any other question? I think that should be for this. Okay, I missed Wave, sorry. This is going to be the last one, sorry about that. I'm trying to keep with the majority. You are welcome, my friend, it's a pleasure. Yeah, I'm seeing the questions. If I missed any of your questions, leave them in the comment, or maybe post them on my Twitter handle, Alienovicu. I can answer all the questions later on because we'll be wrapping up the session in a few minutes. So let's take a look at Wave. I think I have the chart here as well. Yeah, I've been following Wave in the short term. It's almost similar to Bonk, but in the short term, you can see it's not yet breaking the peak. So I'll show this weekly really quickly. It's been one of the best performer for 2024, but since then, it's been doing a big three-ways pullback. Now the question, will this be the start of the new cycle? I mean, there is a chance we could be looking for another move toward $5-6, but it needs to show an impulsive rally from the lows. So the focus in the short term, again, is similar to the rest of the market. You have two main cycles. You have the cycle from April, and you have the cycle from June. That's why I always refer to this cycle, because these are the main ones that you should be focusing on for Bitcoin and the rest of altcoins. As long as those cycles are alive, then the market and the altcoins should be trading higher. Now, short term, either this pullback is done, or just we can be doing a double next week, but it should be trading higher toward 1.7, 2.39. These are your two targets for August, or for next month, August or September 2025. That's ideally the big targets for the short term. You can always extend. Extension is part of the wave 3 extension, is part of the impulsive rallies. You can never try to pick the top. This is the most important thing. We are not going to try to pick the top for Bitcoin. Even when it reaches 135, 149, we are going to use a combination of correlation with gold, combination with the Dixie, most importantly the dollar, which covered this last week. We are going to use the S&P. All these instruments are correlated. When there is a major peak in the market, you need to have a combination between time, price action, and the rest of the market pointing to the same target. So hopefully we have enough data when we reach 135 to know if this is going to extend to 200. 200k Bitcoin is something that everyone is looking for, or this is going to maybe top around 135, $150. That's up to the market to decide. You don't need to pick the top. Don't try to force the trade. Don't allow the bias to affect your judgment. Focus on the technical structure and let the market do the rest. Okay, it was a pleasure. So that was a nice session, everyone. If you enjoyed the show, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel at Elliott Wave Forecast. For educational video, visit our channel. There is a lot of educational videos there for the markets for Elliott Wave. Also, don't forget to follow us on X at Elliott Forecast for fresh Elliott Wave accounts. And if you are looking for altcoin forecast for meme coins or for EIs, take a look at my handle at Elianovicio. A warm thanks to everyone who joined the live session. You are amazing. There was a lot of questions today. I tried to catch with the majority of them, but hopefully I did answer everyone. If there was any other question, I'll try to cover maybe on my handle later on. So enjoy your weekend and see you on the next one.